Good evening, folks. Welcome along to the Friday Night Rangers Rabble. And as you can see, we've got Ross back. Ross, you just keep beating you. That's tremendous.
Robert gave me an addy for a place in Turkey. Implants.
Biggest conspiracy gone. The closest I've got to Turkey was my Christmas dinner, I'm telling you.
Anyway, let's get back to the serious business of a serious Rangers podcast, where the main man's going to be going full time at the end of the season, I think so. But anyway, with us tonight we've got Ross masquerading as Robert masquerading as himself, and Stu. Evening, guys. How are we?
Good, mate. Good. We've got Stu masquerading as Kerr's dad. It looks like Kerr's old boy. Look at him, man. That's Kerr's old boy.
How old do you think I am?
You've got to be older than young Robert, who tells us he's 37, but I'm not having that. I'm sorry, I'm just not having that.
No comment.
Lots of love for Ross in the comments. Nicholas is delighted to see you back, Ross. Heather's having a welcome to Ross. Brian, they're all in there saying welcome back, Ross. So Ross has been on a wee sabbatical, knocking seven shades of shite out of his house to do it all up. So he tells us.
Yeah,
you know, I think he's been basking in the glory of his brother's newfound fame in goal for Hearts, but we won't go there, or that'll take up the entire pod. So anyway, tonight we'll start off with what we've been talking about, basically almost solid for the last week, is the transfers. Now, we haven't actually signed anybody, Robert, but it seems to all intents and purposes that Nicolas Raskin's on his way from Standard Liège. The reports tonight from the Belgian press seem to be that he's passed his medical and agreed a deal with Rangers, and it's just down to Rangers to sort out with Standard Liège whether he comes now or he comes in the summer on a Bosman.
Listen, and I think we've all been sort of preoccupied with the Cantwell one, that this one sort of snuck up on us. So I think looking at the game in Wednesday night, the midfield was dire. It really needs, as the manager says, re-energised, some bodies in to give feet for position. So I'm delighted that this one could get over the line. Hopefully now rather than later, but we'll wait and see what happens.
Aye, indeed. I mean, it would be good. It'd be good to have him in. I was speaking to Ross just before you guys came on, and he said he's the only Rangers fan that doesn't actually know anything about the guy. I don't remember him either. I mean, Stuart, he played against us for Standard Liège in the second leg at Ibrox a couple of seasons back. I'm famous for not, or infamous for not knowing any of the opposition players, but I've no excuse for this one because it was one of those COVID games, so it was on the telly, commentators and all that stuff. I still don't remember him, so he obviously didn't stand out. So, do you know anything about the lad?
Well, I think we're just delighted, as Robert says, that we're actually maybe spending a bit of money on a genuine midfielder, you know, and hopefully something that's a bit different rather than a Lundstrom, Kamara, Jack Davis type of player. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm at Ibrox, I get sick to the back teeth of watching any of them run towards their centre halves, get the ball off them, and then just immediately play it straight back to the centre half without having a bit of a look around to see what we could go in. So I'm hoping that he's somebody that might actually get his foot in the ball and start playing a bit, you know, getting us through the lines a lot quicker and getting us up the park. But it's clearly somebody that, you know, I do enjoy Michael Beale's press conferences when he doesn't want to talk about anybody and then proceeds to talk about them for a couple of minutes. But he's clearly been on Rangers' radar for a while. And judging by what you're reading, it looks like a smart bit of business. I know, a really good age, looks a really good player. So, you know, although we probably don't know a great deal about him, I think it's, as Rob says, great that we're finally refreshing that area.
Yeah, Ross, as Stuart says, you know, it'd be good to have a midfield player that actually looks up and puts the ball forward. My concern is in this daft wee league that we've got, you don't get time to stand on the ball, look up and pass it anywhere before one of these hammer throws is, you know, right on top of you and take the legs away.
I think the thing is, Wolf, when it comes to that, we've been crying out for a player of that ilk since you were in primary school, and that wasn't yesterday. So
it wasn't the day before either.
This is something that's needed addressed for the best part of probably 3 or 4 years, I would say anyway, if no longer. As the boys were alluding to, we've had much of a muchness in there, somebody that can spray passes sideways, and we've got your runners that can break lines, but we've not really got somebody in the middle of the park who's willing to pass the ball between the lines. A lot of that comes to Arfield and Tillman's late runs. So if that's the kind of player he's going to be, as I say, I'm a football manager guru, and I've never signed him on that. I play FIFA, never played Standard Leisure on that. He played against us, don't remember him. But if everybody else is excited, by fuck am I excited, I can assure you. Just because I'm one of the people, Wolf, just get excited by everybody else getting excited.
Good. It's good. Talking about people getting excited, there's John Batchelor getting excited. I think his phone's got a bit carried away looking at the comments, but the bat's straight in there again. Well, big super chat, so thanks very much for that, John. That's absolutely tremendous. I mean, Raskin being a Belgian lad, Robert. Here's a wee stat for you that I found out earlier on, and I haven't checked it. So if it's wrong, blame the guy on Twitter I stole it from. But the only kind of serious Belgian we've ever had was Thomas Buffel, who you'll remember if you're as old as you say you are.
Right, I do.
Who we signed in January 2005 when Celtic were about 1 million miles ahead and top of the league, and we won the title on Helicopter Sunday.
Great year, brilliant vintage, love that. Well, obviously, if you give the same impact Buffel had, then we're halfway there. But I don't know. Some people be saying he's a 6, and others are saying he's an 8. So I don't really know where he's going to be sort of fitting in. But you could have a completely different 3 in the sense of next season, or even in January. Actually, we Cantwell, Raskin, and then Tillman. That would be exciting. Plenty of legs in there, and obviously the managers hinted sort of this week about getting sort of more a youthful look to the side. So hopefully that does mean the end for Arfield and Davis. We bow out, a nice pat in the back, the way to go. It's just time to move on and sort of push this squad on the next level. So I hope we can come in, settle nicely, and Helicopter Sunday will do me this season.
We could certainly do another one of them. Sure, another Helicopter Sunday. It wouldn't be good for the nerves, but by Christ, that'd be a turnaround.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're all probably a bit older now, so there could be a few casualties if that was to happen again. But yeah, look, on your point about where he'd be able to cope with the league, one of the things I did read about him was that he can handle himself. Might not be the kind of tallest or anything like that, but he's not scared to put himself about and stuff like that, and mix it a wee bit. So I don't think I've got any fears on him on that. But look, as I said before, he's clearly been on our radar for some time. I think he would have been here last season if Kamara had went. I think that was probably the plan, but for whatever reason that didn't work out, it's obviously kiboshed it, but they've went, as soon as they've been able to, they've went straight back for him. So, and it's looking as if it is pretty much a done deal. Even by the way Beale was talking today. So, and he'll be ready to go as well, which is, I think, another point of view. I know if we talked about Cantwell, and we'll probably talk about him. Probably needs a bit of time. I think this boy can just get going straight away.
Just see on that, Stuart, sorry, just on that, you're saying obviously he's been one that's been on the radar for a long time. Does that then say that it is Ross Wilson who's picked this guy for Belgium and offered him from Brockhurst, and then again to Beale, and it's not the manager that's said that I want him?
I think he's been on the radar since Beale was here before. I think he's been on the radar since then, because he did say he was a player they were aware of. I mean, he's 21. I think we've been aware of him for a couple of years, so that'll be when Beale was here under Gerrard. So it's kind of come through. But obviously, the fact that, as Stuart says, we were probably favourites to sign him in the summer had Kamara left, means that Ross Wilson's obviously kept tabs on him as well. So maybe this director of football thing works a bit better than we think it does.
Aye.
But I mean, then again, maybe not.
Can I just nick in as well, Wolf, and say well done? The minute you said there, I've done my research, I shit myself and thought you were going to say that he'd been playing in Germany or somewhere, just running a bit there. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of what happens on this pod, isn't it?
There's the batching again, just doing what he does. Absolutely fantastic, John. But you need to lay off the beers, I think. Well, no, keep it coming. Martin's going to need all he can get with the new full-time gig coming up.
I was
But,
going to say
move-
that.
moving
I'll
swiftly
get
on.
you a line back straight into my bank account if you want, mate. I'll just sit and talk to you on FaceTime for 20 quid an hour. It's absolute brand new, eh? I'm all about that.
Moving swiftly on to try to take a segue from what Stu was saying, talking about the size of Raskin. Morgan Whittaker, the boy from Swansea City. This is quite an interest for me. This is quite an interesting one. 6'3", play. Is he a left footer that plays on the right or right footer that plays on the left? I keep hearing different stories, but I think he's a left footer that plays on the right. I think decent player, taken back from his loan spell at Plymouth Argyle by Swansea. Obviously to move him on, but they've put him in the squad for tomorrow. Robert, do you think they're at it, or do you think they will actually use him? Because if they use him, they can't transfer him.
Aye, and that's it. It's literally like sort of dead man's bluff in it. Like you're calling it if you're going to put him in. And also, I don't know. I think they'd be stupid to do that. They've got obviously interested parties. There's still a bit of time to go in the window. So, bit of a coming of age first half of the season at Plymouth, and that's really sort of propelled them into our radar. So, I don't know. I think maybe the fact that sort of Russell Martin had said some stuff in the press earlier on in the week about the bids, and then us coming in and sort of saying, well, no, that's not what I've heard, might have got their back up slightly. So it'd be an interesting one to see what actually happens tomorrow when Swansea's lineup gets announced. I suspect they'll probably be named on the bench just as a teaser, and then we'll have to just wait and see how the game evolves. But I've got to be honest, I didn't really know much about the boy, and then obviously we're linked with him, and I've seen bits and pieces. I've not obviously watched Plymouth with any real gusto this year, but I don't think it's one I'd be sad not to get in this window. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think Swansea, they're playing a dangerous game because they don't play next weekend. It's FA Cup and they're out, so they don't have a game. So this is their last game till the window closes. So I don't think, if they don't really need him, I don't think they'll play him. But it's a strange one that they would bring him back from Plymouth, play him so that he can't play because in case anybody's not aware, he's already obviously played for Plymouth. If he plays for Swansea, they then can't transfer him because you can't play for 3 clubs in the same season. So that would be the situation. And it would be a very, very strange one for me. But nice to get the guy. Talking about nice to get guys, Stuart, you mentioned him earlier, Todd Cantwell. That appears to be very much a done deal, but the manager said today we're not announcing anything until after the game tomorrow, which I find to be a bit strange, but anyway, doesn't make our life any easier. I think we've talked about Todd Cantwell till we're blue in the face, but be a decent enough signing, though.
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited by this boy, and I think it's right up Beale's street, signing a player like this. It's maybe just lost his way, but he's clear he's got all the ability in the world. Even just looking at the clips of him, I like the fact, likes the ball into his feet, not scared to take it in tight spaces and stuff like that, which he's going to find up here with 10 men behind the ball and stuff like that. He got a wee bit of imagination, etc. This to me seems like a bit of a no-brainer, because if you can get 2 good years out of him, then Premiership clubs will come sniffing again for him, no doubt. So, and by the looks of it, there was kind of some sort of fuzzy photo from Glasgow Airport and stuff like that. So he looks as if he's probably all in the building. I do wonder whether or not, if tomorrow's game had been at Ibrox, whether or not they would have pushed it through and there would have been a big grand unveiling and stuff like that. But I don't know why you hold off. I think it would be a nice wee boost. The fans are desperate for a sign to be here. Let's just get it announced and get it signed. But yeah, I think he's a right good player.
Yeah, I had that very same thought. If the game was at Ibrox tomorrow, it would be the big half-time unveiling. Here's when you sign and bring him in. They might even have brought, if the Raskin deal can go over the line, they might even have brought the both of them on. Don't know, but Ross,
it's a bit like a home game tomorrow anyway, so they probably could have just done that, couldn't they?
Yeah, it's a bit like a home game, only it's going to be cold and there's going to be about 300 farmers sitting in the other stand. But anyway, so Ross, Curry asks a pertinent question. If we bring in these 3 players, does it spell the end for Kamara, Lowry, and Arfield? I'll say and/or, because do you think any of the 3 of them will go this window?
No, this window. I think come the end of the season, I think he'll offer Arfield another deal. I think he'll offer him another year just to have him about the place. I wouldn't personally, but I get the feeling that Bill and this leadership group he keeps talking about, I reckon that's the reason why McGregor's still here, Davis and Arfield are still here, because they've lost. Think about over the last 18 months or whatever, you've lost Walter Smith, you've lost Jimmy Bell, two of the people who welcomed new signings and taught these guys what Rangers was all about and told them all the stories. We've lost that. And I think having these people about is seen now as bringing in the new guard. Alex Lowry, I don't. He's told you, Bill's told you he sees Alex Lowry as the future of Rangers. I think we need to remember that Lowry and King are only 19, 20 years old. I don't see him leaving. Kamara looks as if he's down tools, to be honest. You've already got Jack Lundstrom, who can play in there. And if you're talking about Raskin, who, from what I hear, can play in there, but comes a bit more forward with the ball. So that would then allow you still to play your two sitters, but one that can step forward. So every three players, I've got to agree with Paul. I think Arfield and Kamara will leave in the summer. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Arfield being given another year just to keep him kicking about the place. I think if you remember the video when James Sands signed and he was getting introduced to the players and Arfield was cutting about giving it God Bless America and all that, and I think if your name's Big Mark, you might have been saying God Bless Canada. Just depends, countries that are near each other. It just depends, doesn't it? No, I think that could be the case, Wolf, and the fact that we're bringing in a different type of midfielder now, with both the signings you've spoke about, they could be getting us playing the way Bill wants us to play. I don't think Bill wants to play the sideways horseshoe passing, which is what the players we've got are kind of well suited to.
Well,
yeah, no, I mean, I have to. I mean, I don't know. I slightly agree with you, and I think Kamara will be away. I don't think it'll be this window because, as the manager said, nobody from the first team squad's leaving in January. I think one or two of the fringe or youth players will be going. We'll get on to that in a minute. I think Arfield will get another year, but because we're bringing in all these midfield players and they'll be starters. And I think what Wednesday night proved to me is that Arfield isn't a starter. And I've said that all season. Arfield's really good sub because he comes in and he gets straight involved in the game straight away. But he's not a starter. I mean, he was terrible on Wednesday night. He was like a man short on Wednesday night. So, but having said that, I would keep him around. But that's just me.
Does Arfield want to do that though? Well,
I think listening to what he said, probably because he was interviewing him a couple of weeks ago before a game, and he said, you know, somebody asked him about contract. He said, "Look, I'm not an important player anymore. I'm mid-30s. It's not about me. It's about other people. All that stuff. You know what I mean?" So, Jesus, John Batchelor, dearie me, oh my word.
Batch,
That's
put the card away, man.
Batch, put your phone away.
Aye,
put it
definitely.
away. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Listen, Batch said he wants to take me out for a beer, and if he's going to pay me like that, I mean, listen, everybody's got a price. Know what I'm saying, Robert?
It's incredible.
well,
support. I can't knock him, but aye, unreal. Well done, John. Superb.
That's Martin's hourly rate for 3 hours paid now that he's full time with the Rabble. Excellent, man. Excellent. I can imagine imagine the batch having wee Martin tied up like a Lana Wolf victim, man. He's throwing 40s at him, man. Have you met Prince William or whatever the heck she calls it, man? Amazing.
Robert,
there you go.
There's a comment went through there, just the two words on it, and it was Kevin and Nisbet.
Well, listen, I kind of my cousin was down for Glasgow in the week there. We sat and watched the game together, and we just had a chat about Kevin Nisbet and the thought of him playing for the other half was giving us the fear slightly because it seemed to have cooled their interest in the Korean boy. But however, that seems to have been reignited today. Looking at bits and pieces on Sky's Twitter, so I think it's a no-brainer to go for him because it doesn't look like you're going to get Morelos renewed. Cholak, As good as he's been first half of the season, I don't know if Michael Beale's going to be chucking him in and relying on him for the start of next season. Whereas Kevin Nisbet's a bit more mobile, a bit more like a Beale forward in the terms that he puts himself about a lot more. So Rick's being a form at the minute. So go and put a bid in for him and see if you can get him. But it's what sort of numbers you're going to be looking at for Hibs, really. What's he worth? I'd 3.5 million maybe. I wouldn't be going as high as 5 million, would you?
No, I mean, I wouldn't be going as high as 3.5, to be perfectly honest. And the problem is, Stuart, is the usual. They'll put the Rangers tax on it. I mean, if Hibs are seriously wanting, say they're wanting 2.5 for him, they'd be looking for 4 from us because it's us.
100%. Although what I find might be interesting is similar to our conversation that we just had about Raskin. I spoke to someone who knows, well, at the time knew Nisbet's agent. Don't know if he's still got the same one. And they claimed that Gerrard was absolutely in for him, that Rangers absolutely wanted him. So is it something similar again? Beale's back? Because obviously Beale would have been involved in those discussions at that time. For me personally, I think it's a no-brainer as well. I think he's a right good player. I think he's scored a lot of goals for us up here. But you're right, Hibs will demand top dollar. And see comment about Shankland. I think Shankland was actually asked today in his press conference that you're constantly the two of them are kind of linked together a wee bit. I think Nisbet's a better player than Shankland. I'm not saying he's not a bad player, but I think our time for Shankland was a couple of seasons ago. I think we could have picked him up for nothing. So yeah, if we could do it, I would be all for it. But you're right, Hibs will add the Rangers tax on it.
Yeah, I mean, Ross, the Lawrence Shankland thing, as Stuart says, I think we've missed the boat on him. And to be honest, his numbers look really good, but you've got to remember 11 of his goals have been penalties.
With my renewed interest in Hearts this season, Wolf, I really appreciate Lawrence Shankland. By the way, I never realised his hold-up play and his work rate's so good. By the way, very good player. I was on here before. Probably at the time we were linked to Nisbet, saying I would have paid the 3 million for him at that point. He's got 18 months left on his contract. So if we go in for him in the summer with 12 months, do you get him cheaper rather than them losing for nothing at the end of the season? Listen, let's not kid ourselves on here. Agents speak to clubs when they shouldn't be speaking to clubs. And it wouldn't surprise me if there's feelers being put out to his agent to ask him if he'd be interested in a move and to hang on until the summer when we can get him cut price after getting rid of Morelos. Because let's be honest, we're going to lose Morelos in the summer. And we could be doing with a player like that. But Wolf, ask your missus how many players at Hearts we've missed the boat on. We could have had on a free year.
Oh, I don't need to ask her. She keeps me well posted. And the worst thing from my point of view that's happened with relation between us and Hearts in the last 7 days was when Michael Beale called Aberdeen the third best team in Scotland, because she hasn't let me forget he said that, particularly after he stuck 5 past him on Wednesday night.
You can show the video where he also said that Evan McGregor's the best keeper in Scotland, so he must be on acid, obviously.
Who is the best keeper in Scotland, Ross?
With 88% shots to saves ratio, it's Xander Clark, mate. That is who it is statistically. Everybody else can make their mind up. But
ladies and gentlemen, welcome along to the Xander Clark Appreciation Pod. Anyway,
can I
enough
just
of that
say
nonsense.
before we move on, Wolf, it's nice to see Karen checking up on his dad, making sure he's having a good pod.
Right, so that's the players potentially coming in, guys. Right. So I saw a thing today that was somebody put in the group chat. It was a tweet from one of these sourced up people that a couple of our young boys who are currently out on loan will be leaving the building possibly very, very soon. Josh McPake, who's currently at Queen's Park, there was no word of where he was potentially going. But the one that really interested me was Kai Kennedy, who's currently on loan at, I want to say Red Rovers, but that might not be right.
Falkirk.
Is he at Falkirk? Is he at Falkirk? Okay, Kai Kennedy, who's currently, well, I was at least I was in the right sort of area. Kai Kennedy, who's currently at Falkirk, he's been apparently Tampa Bay Rowdies in America are very interested in him. Robert, would that be a decent move for somebody like Kai Kennedy?
Listen, I've not seen enough of the boy. I know there's been a lot of murmurs through in the last couple of seasons. We should be seeing more, but clearly they're nowhere near it, those two boys, because if they were, they'd be in with the likes of Lowry, McCann, Devine, just sort of on the younger players. It was an interesting U-turn for the manager, because he'd said last week nobody was going out on loan. When I think it was Lowry was linked to Ross County, was it? And now I think these press conferences today, he said a couple of the younger boys have come to him saying they've got options. So that's what I'd be more sort of looking at those three, see if they're going to go out and get some minutes, because that's really important. I think there's no point, especially if we do get Raskin and Cantwell in, fingers crossed, next couple of days. It doesn't look good for that, Lowry, does it? You've got to be honest. So if you can go out and get half a season that, I don't know, Motherwell or Ross County or somewhere like that where he's going to play every week, then I'd be delighted. And then feeding into the Arfield thing, if Arfield sidesteps away at the end of the season, I think that's a good spot for Lowry to come in and actually rotate in the squad and get his place, because he is the most exciting prospect we've had in a long time, a really long time. Obviously, Patterson aside, but Patterson was sort of exploded and then away he went. So, no, I think it's really important that we develop Lowry and get him into this football team.
Stuart, do you think we might do, if and when Lowry breaks in, do you think he might become another Patterson where he's a decent 6 months and we get rid of him in a hurry?
If the money's offered, then I don't. If somebody offered again 16 million for Lowry after 6 months, there's no way Rangers knock that back. We don't want to see that. I think we want to see him there for a few years and really get the benefit out of him. But the thing is, he needs to get into this team first of all, and at the moment that's not happening. So, and I don't think anybody's really aware of what that is. I think I said in the pod last week that Beale had challenged him to say, would your teammates pick you? So, I think that was quite telling in terms of, where he thought he was and what he needed to improve on. But yeah, I mean, if he breaks in and he plays out his skin, then we've already heard that there was rumours that there was clubs sniffing about him. The big thing is, though, that we've now got him on a decent contract, so we would hopefully get some decent money for him. The one thing, though, well, just on his point about potential players going out, what I thought was interesting was he said, players have came asking for minutes. Those two boys are already out on loan getting minutes. So does that actually mean that it's no youngsters that he's looking at there? It's actually first team squad who are not getting a game?
No, because he went on to say none of the senior boys are looking to leave. He clarified that. He was asked the question and he said none of the seninger boys were looking to go out. So, which is a shock for me, because I would have prayed somebody to come in and take Matondo, to be honest. But not going to happen, I look at it.
But Matondo, well, I think from what they say, Matondo's been injured. I mean, they've kept it quiet. He just disappeared. But whether he's out of favour or he is actually injured, because that's why he hasn't been involved, I believe. Same with Robbie McCrory. I mean, go back to the goalkeeping thing. McCrory just about sums up our injury. Like, third choice goalkeeper, hasn't kicked the ball for months, got injured. That's why he's not featured. Because I would imagine he would possibly have played tomorrow. But I think I'm not even know if he's back from his injury yet. But you notice, being at the games, that McCrory's usually there warming the keepers up, and he's not been there for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's been Kieran Wright from the youth team that's been there. So McCrory, there was obviously something with McCrory. So, but if he's not going to feature, and the manager says he is, but if he's not, we need to get him out and get minutes as well. Ross, you're our goalkeeper aficionado.
Well, Robbie McCrory will probably be asking for games so that he can pick the cones up for Xander when he's the Scotland #1 in March. He'll probably want an initial choice in that pool. In all seriousness, I'd imagine that he's got Scotland in his sights because of the injury to Craig Gordon. Mate, Beale said he'll get his chance before the end of the season. What Beale means is once Celtic win the league, if they do win the league, Robbie McCrory will get through in for the dead rubber games at the end, because he's not played in any cup competitions this season or anything either. So, personally, if I was Robbie McCrory, I'd be asking to go on loan. But it's whether we'll let him go on loan, because then we might need to get on the phone to Handy Fuff to see if he'll come back and pick the phones up and get the bibs sorted and that, help out with the laundry and stuff.
I think Andy Firth do well with this. He's at
Wales.
He's
doing in Wales.
Somewhere in Wales, isn't he? He's somewhere in Wales. He seems to be doing okay. Seems to be doing okay with himself down there. So fair play to the lad. Anyway, that's enough about. Oh, one more transfer before we move on to something else. Interesting one for me. Tony Weston's been recalled from his loan, and he's now come up this way. He's now up at Cove Rangers. Stuart, do you think that's a decent move for Tony moving into the championship, albeit a struggling championship side?
Aye, obviously it didn't work out for him where he was, so maybe it is just like a change of scenery for whatever reason, or he's not getting the game time or whatever like that. So, aye, look, his young boy, again, he came with a bit of a reputation and stuff like that. He's clearly got ability because he's scored goals at the B team level and stuff like that. So, a bit like Lowry, dropping down to that level is doing him no good because he's too good for it. So he's got to start getting some experience. Whether Cove's the right move, who knows? If they're a struggling team, how many chances he's going to get? But it's another experience for him. Paul Hartley being the manager's probably, that's one downside on it. But yeah, look, it looks like a decent wee player. Needs to get game time. Hopefully gets a few goals, and then let's see what happens in the summer with him.
Go on, Ross. Over to you.
My good friend Kerr asking, do I think Robbie McCrory's a Rangers number one? The stats again don't lie. Robbie McCrory's not even a Livingston number one.
So right?
Robbie McCrory could not hold down the first choice position at Livingston at the same time as he was sent there to get game time. And if you remember right, he chat Martindale's door and asked him why he wasn't playing, and Martindale came out in the press and said they had to tell him that if your form's no good, you don't play. Nobody just comes from, because you're for Rangers doesn't mean you play if your form's no great. So in answer to my good friend Kerr's question, he's not even good enough to be a Livingston number one. And people can say what they like, that's facts.
Right, Ross, here's one for you that I heard last week, and I don't know how true it is or how not untrue it is, right? Obviously, McGregor's going to go in the summer because we shouldn't have re-signed him this summer, but he's going to go.
Gonna somebody take Batch's card off him.
Aye, indeed. Yeah, that's just getting ridiculous. Batch, this is getting crazy. You said goodbye to us 5 minutes ago, Batch.
That's 80, that's 80 quid, Batch. I mean, get yourself a gram and sober up, bro.
Right, anyway, back to the goalkeepers, Ross, right? Obviously, McGregor's going to leave the end of the season. He should have left the end of last season when we thought he had gone, right? I would expect McLaughlin to go as well, right? The rumour I've heard is we're obviously going to be bringing in a new number one, right? Who that is, I don't know. But I've also heard that the next season's number two is going to be the current Motherwell number one, if you can follow all that.
Yep.
So would that be a decent move, bringing him back?
As a number two, maybe. Mate, you're trying to box me up here because you know exactly who should be coming, who I think from our league should be coming to Rangers, whether it's as a number two or number one.
We're not going to get him. We're not going to get him because Hearts ain't going to let him go.
No, but Liam Kelly, for me, is Johnny Average. He's not any better than McLaughlin. I think, seen somebody mention, Paul's mentioned a few times the Bodo Glimt goalie, who seems to get rave reviews. I've said on here before that when Celtic played Bodo Glimt, I believe it was a different keeper that played, who ended up at Willem II in Holland, and he came for every cross and made great saves. And mate, we need a progressive, probably goalkeeper who's just hitting his peak, who is going to come for come for crosses, take the pressure off the defence, can play the ball with his feet, quick distribution as well. Sometimes McGregor kills us with his slow distribution. But we need a goalie that's going to make saves, mate. Our goalies this season are sitting at 52 and 56% shots on target to saves ratio. So for every 5 shots, for every 10 shots that go into McGregor or McLaughlin, 4 or 5 of them are going in. That's not acceptable for a Rangers goalie. When you look at Joe Hart up near the 80%, and then you've got the upper echelons at the 88% in that, the Clark boys and stuff.
Ross, can I just ask you, maybe a bit of a personal question? You don't have to answer it, why, but why do you think your brother was left so late in the window to be picked up? Why do you think clubs like ourselves weren't looking at him?
See, when he signed for Hearts, Robbie Nielsen came out in the press and said they'd been in for him for weeks, but he had other offers. So there was a chain of events with English teams, and it never worked out on the last day of the season. Teams were meant to sell a goalie, they never. And by that point, Hearts offered him a deal that he accepted because he made their European cut. So that the day after the transfer window shut was a European registration deadline, and he signed for Hearts, and he signed a 4-year deal at Hearts. So there was always obviously a succession. I wasn't sitting on his clocks, I'm not his agent or anything, I just bum him up on here. But there's obviously always been a succession in place where he was going to take over for Gordon. And as I said on here many times before when I was on, I remember when he was only a young boy, and at St Johnstone, and Aaron Manus, the Northern Ireland goalkeeper, was their number one, and people told me, okay, no, get him out. Xander played a couple of games and people had forgot about Manus, and I'm not saying they forgot about Gordon, but obviously reading the Hearts forums and stuff like that, and Wolf, obviously your missus will probably think this. I hear a lot of people now saying that he's actually been an upgrade on Gordon because he's coming for crosses, he's making big saves, and he's better with the ball, he's feet, his distribution. So for me, Gordon was the best goalie in the league for the first 6 months of the season. So
she's not quite saying that. She's a big Craig Gordon fan, but she's certainly not disappointed by Xander coming in.
Tell you who I like.
We're not here to build up your brother.
I know, but tell you who I really like in the league, mate, and he flies under the radar. The boy at St Mirren, Trevor Carson. He was obviously at Motherwell. Liam Kelly was his number 2 there, and he got I think he had a blood clot in his shoulder, if I'm right, and he missed 6-8 months of football. He's underrated. He's a very good goalkeeper.
Yeah. Okay, right. So let's get away from this. Kemar Roofe, guys. Kemar Roofe came back on Sunday off the bench, scored the winning goal, landed on his shoulder on the softest pitch in the history of soft pitches, and Robert, he's out for 4 weeks.
I know it's you can say it's hard luck and all this, but just the guy cannot catch a break. And even listening to the manager the day, I wasn't 100% convinced that he will be back in 4 weeks, because there was something like he had an option at an operation, or just see how it heals and see how it goes. So there's going to have to be a review of this injury during this period. So and then he comes back in the final, which the manager said was good timing for him. But why should he just walk back in? So no, it's a shame really, because when he does play in patches, he gets goals. Obviously came on and got the winner for us at the last weekend. So I don't know. It's a strange one. How long does he get left in his deal? Does anyone know?
18 months.
It's not this summer, next summer, I think. So 18 months.
So you're going to have just to persevere. The manager loves him. The manager's always very complimentary about him. The issue is the injuries, and it is with the club. There's injuries all over the place. You mentioned McCrory injured and not even playing a game. So with Roofe, it seems to be all the time. You can't get half a season at him. You can't get 20 games at him. It's like 5-10 games injured. And in this case, it was 15 minutes injured. So it's a shame for him, but hopefully, we can get somebody else in, like we're talking about Nesbitt, who can play a continuous season and find a bit of form for us, because you can't keep chopping and changing, whether it's the goalkeeper, the centre halves, the striker. You need continuity in your football team. You're going to win it.
You certainly do, but I think Roofe's probably the best finisher we've got if you can keep him fit, but unfortunately you can never keep him fit. So Stuart,
get him away, man. What is going on with this guy?
Badge, what are you up to? I know he said earlier if he couldn't afford it, he wouldn't do it, but that's just incredible. Just somebody go round the shoes and take his card off him.
I don't know if I'd go around his house, man. He'd have you in that back in no time. Scrubbing your back. Scrubbing your back. Oh, dear.
Hey, Stuart, do you... obviously, we opened the new restaurant at Ibrox last week, and on the back of that, James Bisgroves was speaking to some of the fan media. I'm not sure if you've caught up with what he said to Stevie before, lads. That was about earlier on today. But we've got a new, obviously, the new restaurant's open in the Blue Sky Lounge. What flew under the radar for me is when they built that, they've actually created 200 new seats at the back of the Govan. Actual normal, not hospitality seats, but like normal seats in the back of the stand. So I'm assuming they've moved the facade of it slightly back, and they've also got 6 new wheelchair spaces up there, which I only found out about today. So that's all positive. That puts the capacity up a little bit.
I heard, Wolf, but there's only 5 wheelchair spaces for fans and other ones for roof.
You could be right. The interesting thing for me is the deal with the new catering company Levy. If I've understood it right, it's a profit share, and we get 75% of the profits, and that's of all the hospitality throughout the stadium. That's incredible.
Well, compared to the deal that we had by the charlatans that set us up for years, where we've got basically nothing for it, and the standard of what we were getting at the stadium was absolutely atrocious. So, like, long overdue. Bisgrove gets his critics, and I think that's down to kind of my jers. That kind of goes against him in people's eyes. But I think he has done a lot of good stuff. The restaurant looks cracking, and by all accounts, it's getting booked out. I think the day or the morning it went, the booking system went live. They had 2,500 bookings or something like that taken. So, if you're getting 75% of the profits, it's money going into the club. Yeah, you're right about the seats. I don't think they announced that at all. And from what I heard about it, I think when they knocked the boxes away, they realised actually that it was creating additional room that they didn't need within the restaurant, so they were able to put those additional seats in. Anything that can support the disabled.
Mid-flow.
Even
if it is only
just there he goes.
Looked a wee bit like John Hartson the way you froze there. Cares that John Hartson had a baby, man.
Cheers for that. So I think it's all positive news in terms of that, and wanting to make Ibrox something that people use all the time rather than just when games are on.
Yeah, on to that, Robert. I mean, he was also talking about the new Henderson House when they eventually get that open. I mean, it's only a year late, so at the moment, 500 to 600 seat sports bar going in, where the Superstore currently is. When the Superstore goes to 2 floors in the new Henderson House, and obviously the museum and a coffee. But I mean, the thing that interested me about new Henderson House was it's going to be licensed as well. So before the games, the fan zones you're actually going to be able to buy a beer at the fan zone before the game, and obviously it'll be open after the game as well. I thought that was quite good to hear.
Oh, listen, I always remember when Tottenham opened their stadium, and Ali McCoist had been to a game there, and he'd said he'd rather have spent the whole match in the concourse because there was just that much going on. It was lively and there was things happening. It was a great vibe. So hopefully that creates a similar thing at Ibrox pre-match, and can drive revenue, because as Stuart was saying there, Bisgrove does get his critics, but ultimately he's there to drive revenue. He's there to drive numbers in the football club, and I think they're doing that. So long may it continue, as long as it's getting spent in the right areas, i.e. personnel on the football pitch, because that's all we care about, right? We're here to watch the team win trophies. It's been too long a dry spell. I know we've had a couple of cups in the last couple of seasons, but I'm just craving trebles, etc. So if the money's getting pumped back in the right way, that's great. As long as it's not getting pumped into executives' wages, etc. That's where my fear would be. So we'll see how it goes. But no, Sports Bar sounds lovely. We pint before the game. Change scenery for the usual pubs along Paisley Road West. So, excellent, good news.
Yeah, Ross, it seems that they're actually actively making the Ibrox Stadium footprint a revenue-generating area. as opposed to now, I mean, the only revenue Rangers make are from basically the superstore and folk actually, on tickets and pies and that in the ground. The fact that basically everything now outside it is going to be the sports bar, which is going to obviously be revenue. By the sounds of it, they're talking about it being open all the time as well, which I find a bit strange because I can't see the locals wanting to just go to the Ibrox Sports Bar for a pint, but you never know. And obviously New Edmiston House, which is going to be a concert venue, and they're talking about over 300 days a year for New Edmiston House. That's got to be a boost to the old revenue streams.
It's gonna be a moneymaker, mate. But for me, James Bisgrove should just start a podcast and get the batch involved. And honestly, he'll never be short of. He actually could have funded a signing for us, this podcast. Mate, if all money's good money. Bisgrove and Wilson maybe felt a bit of pressure at the AGM the last couple of years. They've been kind of called out. Maybe they're actually putting their working boots on and actually doing things rather than signing up to stupid friendlies in Australia and whatever else. I don't know. Would you see if it's reasonably priced during the week and you're a local? Why would you go and have a pint at Ibrox rather than going to Big Sam's backyard boozer? Where there's a good chance you go there for a laugh and end up in stitches. You know what I mean?
That's true. Just to pick up on Vladdy's point here, I hope the sports bar is a beer garden, which I don't know if it will. I can't really see where they would put that. And Spurs type pints pouring. I'm not sure what that means, but I believe
Have you not seen Spurs? How they pour pints?
Is that the self pouring things?
No, what they do is they stick the pint tumbler on tap of the tap and it fills for the bottom up and then they take it away and that's how you get your pint.
First time I saw that was in the Etihad about 5 or 6 years ago. I was down for the Rugby League Magic Weekend and they did that in the Etihad. They had that there, which won't surprise you because
you've always got to go one better, Will, think you? You've been everywhere and anywhere, man. Fucking hell.
We will follow one cue for a song, but we won't. But no, I believe that from something that I read today that there's actually going to be, there's I think was it Arsenal put a thing in their stadium. I saw it last week that it was a kind of self-service, pour your own pint part of the one of the bars or whatever. We're going to have that in one of these new areas, whether it's the sports bar or no idea how it's going to work. I assume you just get a glass and then you put your credit card in and it pours it. I've got no idea how it works, but apparently they'll do that. So it all seems quite state of the art, which for an old duffer like me, I'm not quite sure what I think about that. But the good thing from my point of view is New Edmiston House will have a coffee shop in it. So for non-drinkers like me and Ross, we'll be sorted. Oh, I can't get behind that 0% stuff. Can't get behind it at all.
Listen.
Surely the big news though, Wilf, was the fact that the Ibrox is now going to be on the hop on, hop off tour route in Glasgow, so it'll be full of Japanese / Chinese tourists and stuff like that. So that's maybe why we'll, maybe the bar and all that will be full of that. That'll be good, won't it?
You can't
I wasn't aware of that, but that's got to be good. You can't beat an old hop on, hop off tour.
I thought you said an old hop on, hop off tour.
Can't
beat them either.
So, anyway, that's us. We've been rattling on for coming up to 50 minutes now, guys, and we've not even mentioned the fact that there's a game tomorrow. So let's before we go, let's touch on the game tomorrow. Vital game, Scottish Cup game. The draw could have been kinder to us. Away at St Johnstone. Nobody needs reminding. The last time we went to Perth was in November and we got beat 2-1 in probably the worst game of football I've seen in a very, very, very long time. So, Ross, what are you expecting tomorrow, my friend?
The usual tough, horrible slog, 10 men behind the ball. Been doing a bit of research, Wolf. And,
is that Rabble research or research?
No, this is real research. St Johnstone's goalkeeper has 52% shot to save ratio, so get the shots in. Take 10 shots, you've got a chance of scoring 4 or 5 goals.
But conversely, if they take 10 shots, it could be a 5-all draw. Yeah,
that's exactly it. I I put Connor Golson in goals tomorrow. He's the only one we've got that actually makes saves.
I think
that'll be all over Celtic Twitter before we even get athlete here.
Just actually seriously on the game, I think it's going to be another sort of rugby park effort in the sense it's going to be a lot of set plays pumped into the box because they're getting a lot of joy teams for set plays against Rangers. So I think it'll be another change in goal. I think McGregor will come back in. Then you're looking at probably Tillman in for Arfield. Maybe Jack come back in as well for Kamara. I say this every time I'm on this podcast about Lundstrom. Like, when are we going to get an actual Lundstrom performance? Because I don't think he's been above a 6 all season. Really don't.
Robert, on that, I think you're right. I think the 3 that went out in midweek will come back in, but Jack for Kamara is maybe likely. But would you do Jack for Lundstrom?
Possibly. It's not a bad shout, really, isn't he?
His form, so poor.
He's dying. He's still dining out in last season. I mean, that semi-final performance was colossal. Thought it was great. Obviously, the Leipzig game as well. But I don't know what's happened to him this year. There was points that the manager spoke about sort of coming into the dressing room and sort of lifting morale and making the players happy again. You wonder what's actually going on in there. Like, you wonder what he's walked into in sense of the way the players are feeling and the emotion in there, because it sounds to me like they've been right down on the proverbials, should I say, and they've needed dragging up. He also hinted at a lot of anxiety in the team, which is like, where's that coming from? A lot of the problems stem psychologically, and I think that needs correcting quickly. But the only way you're going to get the best out of these players is by bringing other players in to push them. And at the minute they've no got that. I think Lundstrom knows pretty much he's starting every week. It's the same way the captain is. He knows he's starting every week as well. So, wow.
I'm a way up the road. I'm done.
Brilliant, John. Yet again, you're on. I think we'd better take the podcast tonight. And that's...
John, can I nick in here and say, mate, it's starting to make me feel a bit uncomfortable, mate. Aye, genuinely, man, because you never know what's in the corner. You could burst your tyre tomorrow. Then before you know it, the rain's eating out their nappy for the rest of the month. You're in beans on toast. Mate, listen, it does. I know it's all fun and games until somebody wakes up, man, and their missus leaves them because I think they're an avid gambler and they just watch the Rabble. That's our fun, mate. It's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers.
Really
as
is.
I say, if I take me out for a pint, man, I'll stick on my sausages and we'll go for it.
It's really appreciated, John, but you need to rein that in. That's crazy. That's just crazy.
Sorry, can I just find just a wee thing in Ryan Jack? The manager was asked about him today and said that he was in a fantastic place and then get sort of pushed on whether he was going to get a new deal or not. Said that they'd sat down a couple of weeks ago and that they were on the same page. So it looks like we are going to renew that. Maybe as maybe more of a squad player next year, but certainly looks like he's going to be one that stays.
Yeah, I mean, there's a comment there as well. Does anybody think Hadji will be back tomorrow? I can't see it. I think the manager said a couple of weeks ago that they were looking at potentially the league game next week against St Johnstone, because we've got them again next week in the league. And I would expect Hadji and guys that have been out for that sort of length of time to make their comebacks off the bench at Ibrox at some point. Problem with that is we've only got St Johnstone next week, then Ross County the week after. Then that's us at Ibrox for another 3 or 4 weeks, unless we get through tomorrow and get drawn at home in the cup. So it can be quite difficult to actually find game time for Hadji. And obviously, you also talk about Suter coming back about the same time. So, no, Alfredo, I personally don't think we'll see Hadji tomorrow. I don't even think he'll be in the squad, to be perfectly honest. So I'm still not sideways by Batch's generosity tonight. It's incredible. I know he says he can afford it, but it's mental.
There's generosity and then there's just silliness.
I know.
and that's.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, I've just had Martin on the phone saying he's booked up Disneyland for him and the Waynes again this year. So somebody's getting the benefit of it. You know what I mean?
No. So Stuart, let's get back to business before we finish. What's your starting team going to look like for tomorrow?
Like I said before, I think the three that dropped out for midweek, so McGregor, Jack and Tillman will come straight back in. I think everybody else will be the exact same. My only slight doubt was what I'd said to Rob up there. Who does Jack replace? Is it Kamara or is it Lundstrom? I think the chances are it will be Kamara, but I'm saying that Kamara was great the other night, but I thought he had a better game than Lundstrom. So, I personally would maybe bring him in for Lundstrom, but I think it will be Kamara. That's the only. I think it will be the same forward three and stuff like that. No changes there.
Yeah, Ross. I think touching on the same forward three. I don't think scoring goals doesn't seem to be a problem just now. It's keeping them out at the other end, which we've got a settled defence. We know we've got the goalkeeper issues, but to me, it's the midfield not stopping the opposition coming through that's the problem. So, what's the midfield going to be tomorrow?
Have we got a settled defence?
Well, the same ones are playing all the time, so that's settled to me. I'm not saying it's the right defence, but it's what's playing, isn't it?
I would like to see Adam Devine get his shot at right back, mate, and give Tabak a
So would I, but it's never going to happen.
So you're asking me my team, Will, for right? See if you want me to tell you Bill's team. Go and ask him. Get him on the pod. We can afford to pay his wages. Batches fucking funding it. I would like to see Devine get a run at me. I think Bomber and Tav have both been brutal recently. So for me, that he's due a chance. We want them to see a pathway to the first team. That doesn't mean sitting in the bench getting splinters in your arse, especially on this cold weather. That should mean putting pressure on these players. And again, see, for us to fit the model of bringing players through and selling them for money, then they've got to be playing. What better a way to get clubs' attentions to these young players is the fact that he's replaced your captain in the team through merit, not through trying to sell him, through merit. The Mora, midfield, Jack, Tillman, and it'll be Jack Tillman and Lundstrom, won't it? It will be Jack. But he did mention the other day how Lundstrom's probably been overplayed because he's not other choices. So this could maybe be a game where you see Jack and Kamara. I mean, I don't want to see Jack and Kamara, but that could be what you see.
Could be. Robert, do you think there's any chance at all we'll see the likes of Lowry or McCann starting? As Ross says, he said that Lundstrom's been overplayed, so do you bring one of them in for Lundstrom?
I don't think starting, no. I mean, I was interested to see in the semi-final that McCann came on and Lowry didn't. So that shocked me slightly. I thought Lowry would have been maybe ahead of McCann and getting in minutes. But no, I don't see either of them starting, really don't. Just go back to Ross's point, obviously, but Devine and Tavernier. Looks to me like at the minute, Devine is seen as a sort of a coming in for Barisic. It's more on the right-hand side. It seems to be on the left-hand side that he's getting utilised. And I've sort of mentioned on Monday night, with Devine, you seem to get a more solid display at the back, which obviously you want with a defender, but you don't then get that sort of, threat in the final third. So I would say that Bonner's not been amazing in the final third, but he's put a couple of balls into the box that have been okay, so and caused something. So I don't know. I think the back four picks itself, whether we like it or no. I think it picks itself. We're on agreement there. So it seems to be a unit that he likes. They've been a wee bit at sea, I would say, at times in the last two games, whereas they picked up clean sheets prior to that, and I thought they were going to build on that, albeit at the game at Ibrox. But I just think the last couple of games, there's been maybe a wee bit of doubt crept in, whether, like you say, well, if that is to do with the midfield. We'll see again tomorrow, because the midfield really need to step up. They've been nowhere near it, and I think they've been getting off lightly today in terms of the flack that's been dished out. So I'm sure tomorrow evening we'll see the lineup, and hopefully it's one that comes out and goes for the first whistle this time and doesn't wait to 30 minutes in, 40 minutes in to start playing.
Yeah, right, okay. So, Robert, what do you think the score? What's the score going to be tomorrow then, if that's the way we're going to go?
I will go. I want a clean sheet. So St Johnstone 0, Rangers 2.
Okay, and the first goal scorer will be?
I think he's going to carry on in a similar vein. Ryan Kent.
Okay, Stuart?
3-0 Rangers, Morelos first goal scorer.
Roscoe?
Can I just bring in, before I give my predictions, it's going to tie into it. Somebody put in the comments earlier on, we keep starting games really well, but then letting other teams back into it. If this is us starting well, I again want to know what drugs you're on, because we have been hopeless. We go behind every game, and I think that will continue tomorrow. I think Stevie May will score the first goal, but I think Rangers will go out 4-1 winners.
Okay, I think what that comment was referring to is the fact that we started against Aberdeen. We started quite well. They scored against a run of play. Wednesday we certainly didn't start well. We could have been 3 down before they scored. They only scored after 5 minutes. So I mean, against Aberdeen we didn't start too badly, and then they caught us and scored. But there's another wee donation super chat from Vladdy. Thanks very much, my friend. Should Devine get a shout at right back? Not because Tav's poor, but because he's obviously been carrying a knock. I think we all think so, but none of us are Michael Beale, and Tav's going to start for exactly the same reason that John Lundstrom was going to start in midfield, because the manager obviously likes him and he's going to keep starting him. Personally, I wouldn't play either of the two of them, but the problem with this one for me is the fact that the cup draw's not done the younger guys any favours. Because if tomorrow's game was away at Arbroath, for example, I think you might have seen a couple of younger boys coming in, because it's a game that should be eminently winnable with them. But particularly with the recent result at St Johnstone, we can't afford to take any chances tomorrow at all. So, anyway, let's have a look, see if there's any more comments to bring up before we go. There we go. Captain isn't getting benched unless he's injured. That's 100% correct. Although it's not like you, pal, but you're absolutely 100% correct. Hope we start good and stay, play the whole 90 minutes. That would be very, very nice if we could do that. If we could play for the whole 90 minutes and absolutely put them to the sword. So anyway, guys, I think that'll do. That's just over an hour of me trying to guide this ship in the right direction. Stop Ross talking too much about his brother. So I think we'll be back again tomorrow with, I'm not sure if they're doing the match. Like, I'm getting off here before Batch puts anything else in here.
I'm going to end up bottling myself, stabbing myself in the throat for him.
I've got no idea if we're doing a Rabble morning, if it's only a Monday to Friday thing, or if it's a 7-day-a-week thing. If it is a 7-day-a-week thing, the boys will be on YouTube at 11 o'clock in the morning. If not, they'll be there on Monday. But there'll definitely be pre-match and post-match stuff tomorrow, before and after the game with St Johnstone in Perth. So for tonight, Ross, thank you very much indeed. Stuart, thanks, mate. Robert, see you again soon. Cheers, guys. We shall see you all again at a later date. Look after yourself and Batch. Thanks very much, mate, but calm down a wee bit.